Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Welcome to New Life Live. This is Chris Williams in studio for Steve. I have Dr. Alice Benton with me and Dr. Sheri Keffer.
Great to be with you both.
Yeah, how y'all doing today?
And everybody else.
Well, we're reminiscing about my Minnesotan roots. I was practicing my oof, da, yeah, you betcha accent.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
And what kind of fish were you talking about?
Walleye and sunny, you know.
and ice fishing and all that. Yeah, that's the best. Well, happy Labor Day to everyone. And I hope if you can, if you're able to, that you're enjoying time with your family or friends and enjoying this. Labor Day actually became an official holiday in 1887, but not throughout the entire country. The first state to become recognize Labor Day was Oregon. But I think about this often. You know, God has this warning to the Israelites that, hey, you're going to go into a land, and you're going to occupy a land or live in a land and cultivate a land. But the future generations, the warning is this, is you're going to live in buildings you didn't build. You know, you're going to enjoy the fruits of the labor that other people before you. And so don't forget that. Remember that, you know. And I just think about one of the things that I think that has made America great in the midst of all of our struggles and problems and sordid past, but what we can't forget in holding both its struggles and its goodness together is that creativity, ingenuity, the ability to make things, and the freedom to be able to make things that we enjoy today is such an amazing, amazing blessing and opportunity that we get to enjoy on a daily basis. I can drive across the country in a car or fly in a plane, and that's because someone else put the work into doing that for us.
Well, and you're pointing out intentional gratitude and appreciation, which is a skill that not enough of us have or not enough of us practice. Mm-hmm. And it has profound effects on our mental health when we are intentionally grateful and look for things around us to appreciate. It changes the level of happiness. We have some control over that.
That's a phenomenal point.
I was I'm working on a new project, and I was telling somebody this week, I showed it to them, and I said, well, this is version number 19. And the guy said, he goes, you know, it's kind of like WD-40. And I go, what about WD-40? WD-40 is they had 40 revisions to WD-40, and that's why they call it WD-40. Now, if he just read me a line, then somebody let me know that I'm off base, but I just thought that's brilliant. I mean, how many creative moments have we had where there's lots and lots of revisions?
Yes.
And, you know, you might throw in the towel and think, oh, I can never get to the other side, but just don't give up. Keep refining, keep creating. And maybe Labor Day is an opportunity for you to be off of work and maybe working on something that is unique to you. That is something creative to you. Take the day, honor it, enjoy your family, but create.
I love that. And again, rest and leisure are huge to creativity, right? Yes. The first day of mankind in the Bible was a day of rest. It didn't start with work, it started with rest. But the rest of it was work. And work is such a blessing, such an opportunity, especially when we get to work not just for the benefit of ourselves, but primarily for the benefit of others that gives glory to God. As you were mentioning, Sheri, you may find yourself in an iteration today, in a version of you that, like, man, I can't believe I'm still here. But we're going to keep helping you find that next version of you, that better version. And so we're going to create life in a new way. So we're going to help you right as we get back after this break.
I have a 15-year-old. She is very defiant, rude and disrespectful to me.
Children don't come with a set of instructions, so what's a parent to do?
She has very intense screaming fits.
Do you feel equipped to tackle the tough decisions and issues that can have a lifelong impact on your kids?
I have a 11-year-old daughter, and I'm trying to help her with the situation regarding school.
Are your children ready to thrive in this culture?
I just feel like I'm at the end of my rope with her.
Let New Life's online one-day workshop, Fearless Parenting, Preparing for the Teen Years, help. It's Saturday, October 2nd. You'll learn about bullying, discipline, boundaries, challenges in parenting, smartphones, social media, and screen time, how your own struggles affect how you parent, and much more. With insightful teaching and the guidance of a credentialed New Life counselor, this one-day workshop can equip you to meet the challenges of raising children in the 21st century. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to register or to find out more. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live, and we're going to go straight to the phones. We're going to go to Sarah in Cleveland, Ohio. Sarah, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Thank
you for taking my call.
Well, we'd love to talk to you, so let us know what's going on.
Okay, I'm actually calling in regard to my 8-year-old granddaughter, who just about a year ago had a very, very severe stomach bug, and as a result of that, several days later was hospitalized, and that was pretty traumatic for her. And prior to that, she was just a very outgoing, social butterfly, and very, very bright, beautiful young girl. Since then, she's been developing panic attacks, where she doesn't really want to leave the home. She doesn't want to go out. She doesn't want to, especially now, being away from her mom. And even, I'm her grandmother, and she loves us. My husband and I, we want to just go there and take her out for ice cream with her other two sisters, and she doesn't even want to go with us. She's just so fearful of leaving the house, and especially leaving her parents. Yeah. However, Monday was her first day of school, and when my daughter-in-law had dropped her off to a school she's loved, it's a beautiful Christian school, she started crying, and she didn't want to go, and she finally got in there, and then she called my daughter-in-law, after she was there a couple of hours crying, to have her pick her up, but she ended up staying the day, and then it happened again on Tuesday, and then today my daughter-in-law said it was the worst of all, where they were actually dragging her into school.
Yeah.
And so we're just concerned about how to handle this.
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you for calling in. Thank you for being concerned. You see that your granddaughter, she really is struggling, if not downright suffering. And I know that for us here, all of our trauma triggers are going off. And so, Sheri, let me start with you. What's going on, and what do they need to do?
Yeah. So, hey, Sarah, thank you for trusting us with your precious granddaughter and all that's going on with her. You know, as somebody that loves, I love working with the Sarahs of this world in trauma, because there's always a reason. There's always a reason. I say this, and I've said it before on the radio. Her behavior is telling on her, right? She's terrified. And I want to paint a picture for you. And I've seen this in situations like this, where somebody's body becomes the source of their trauma. Getting the stomach flu, like she's a smart 8-year-old, landed her in the hospital, which is a traumatic event. So do you realize that a bunch of people out in the world wearing masks, they're basically germs. People equal germs, and people equal a threat for her. And that threat of getting the stomach flu again and possibly going back in the hospital is shutting her down. And then what happens is, because loving family members are trying to move somebody through their trauma in the best way they know how, then she has other trauma events, like being dragged into school. That would be considered a trauma event. So if I was to work with your 8-year-old daughter, I would probably do something called EMDR, which stands for Eye Movement Desensitization and Reprocessing. It's a specific kind of...
excuse me one moment.
Yeah.
It's my granddaughter.
Your granddaughter.
I'm the granddaughter.
I got it. So
Okay.
I knew that. I just said the wrong thing. So your granddaughter,
Okay.
I would work with your granddaughter with eye movement desensitization reprocessing, because when she got the stomach flu, she was probably fine. Like lots of kids get the flu. They may be more anxiety today because of the COVID pandemic environment. But when she went to the hospital, it changed everything. And so typically what gets wired in is a negative belief that sounds something like this. I'm powerless. I'm not in control. I'm helpless. My body is broken. Something's wrong with me. And that cluster of beliefs are driving her behavior right now. EMDR can help to move her to a place where it's over. I'm safe now. Like she feels like she's in danger when she goes out into the world. It might even be I'm in danger, right? And the opposite is it's over. I'm safe now.
Well, and I think that's what's really important with that is that she may not be able to know all the reasons why, at least yet.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for her to articulate it or communicate it clearly. And it could be as baffling to her and as frustrating to her, if not more so than everyone else. And so what that does is it sort of reinforces this belief that there is something fundamentally wrong with me, of like who I am, rather than, well, I just have this fear and this pain that's just trapped that needs to get out. Yeah.
And when we parents are overwhelmed with our children, which is the case even if they're not suffering from trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder, we can be too quick to label our fearful children as disobedient and troublemakers. And then we tend to fall too hard on the side of challenging our children to be better than they are, and we're not providing enough comfort to them and seeking out those reasons of why they're apparently being disobedient, which is probably the fear. And so I would advise your son and daughter to use the comfort circle, which comes from Mylan and Kay's book, How We Love, to draw out your daughter's fear, to help both them and the granddaughter see why she's so fearful. And then I would like them to strategize with both the school counselor and the teacher how they can be providing sufficient comfort while also having appropriate expectations about her school attendance.
Yeah.
So you're a great... You're not a great grandmother. You're a great grandma. Like, I just want to tell you, and I have them listen to this show. That's one thing I love about New Life Live is they're all taped. Like, you can go at any time and listen on demand. And this might be a really cool call for your daughter and son to listen to in light of their daughter, your granddaughter.
So Sarah, here's what we want you to do. Yeah, I want you to get that girl into some good therapy, especially someone who specializes with children in EMDR. And we want to, as Alice was mentioning, work with the school. You know, we do IEPs, individual education plans that are provided to let them know what's going on, to provide the best environment. We're going to send you a copy of How We Love Our Children, or How We Love Our Kids by Molly and Kay, because that really teaches how to do the comfort circle with kids so they can feel safe enough to talk about really what's going on the inside. And so we are so grateful that you had called today. And you know, you made a really good point, Alice, and Sheri as well, is that when these pains get stuck in children and they look really oppositional, right? They look like misbehaving or disobedience, whereas there's a part of their body that has just taken over in fear that doesn't know how to feel safe. And our job is to do everything we can to help our children feel safe. So again, Sarah, thank you so much for calling in today.
When I take this approach with my own children and they're appearing to be rebellious on the surface, after I find out what kind of comfort they need, the disobedience tends to dissipate. dissipate.
Yes.
Now, sometimes they do need consequences for bad behavior, but comfort is often the solution.
But it's the same for all of us, right? Even as adults, I can become disobedient, so to speak, throw my little temper tantrum, but come to find out I'm hungry. Come to find out I'm tired. Come to find out I'm scared or
You
lonely.
need a hug.
I need a hug. Yes. And so lo and behold, that when our relational and physical needs get met, that we're safe enough to then, as I say in our family, we work together. Teamwork makes the dream work. So let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Alexis in Bridgeport, Connecticut, listening on Sirius XM. Alexis, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you for taking my call.
No problem. Thanks for calling in, and how can we help you?
Well, I want to know how I can better handle confrontational situations. I have anxiety, and I do get panic attacks from time to time. I've been in therapy. I'm in the 12-step program, and I'm also on anti-anxiety drugs or prescriptions that do help, except that when I get in confrontational situations, whether I know the person or not, my anxiety trumps everything, including the Holy Spirit within me. And I just wondered what kind of tools or practices that I can do that when I'm in a confrontational situation, I can better come out and handle it with less emotion, more intelligence, so that I'm not regretting how I handled it.
And Alexis, in what area of your life is this continually popping up the most?
Mostly when I'm out and about, and I don't know how to answer that. It's like yesterday something happened with my dogs, and I wasn't able to. I had a different approach and a different opinion about something at the dog park, and 3 other people were coming at me, and I wasn't able to. I wish I'd gone back and thought about it, and I wish I had handled it better. It's mostly when I'm out and about, but it also can be when I'm just, talking to my husband, or when we have a confrontation, and I immediately yell. I override what other people are saying because my anxiety is so up there.
Can I reframe that for you for a second, Alexis?
Yeah.
So your fear is a symptom, not the source. So what it sounds like is that you have these buried landmines inside of your heart and your soul. And those landmines were pain points from your past. And around those landmines are tripwires. And so people, unbeknownst to them, walk through the tripwire, and sometimes unbeknownst to you, and that thing explodes. And it says, I'm in danger, I have to stay alive, I have to protect myself, this person or this thing is a threat. And what happens is, again, those pain points from our past, again, turn into landmines of our present. And we want to help you find out what the landmine is.
So when you think of that pain from the past, Alexis, what comes to your mind?
Well, I know enough now as my family history. My dad was a rageaholic, and my mom was I forget what you call somebody who doesn't deal with things, kind of ignores problems.
Yeah, she was avoidant.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So, I see him a lot like my dad in those respects. And I know now my dad had PTSD, and I'm wondering if I have that and not really being treated yet.
Well,
enough. I'm starting a new therapy.
Yeah. So Alexa, hold on. So I want you to stop wondering if you have it, and put an exclamation point at the end of PTSD.
Okay.
Okay. Now, it's a little little sketchy on my part because I don't want to diagnose over the radio, but what you're showing us is what we call trauma triggers.
Yeah.
Right. And so you...
So how do I get past that? How do I get to be a better handler of these triggers?
You're asking the great question. And you called in at the right time, because I know one of the best trigger handlers is in studio today. Dr. Sheri Keffer. We're going to come back after the break. You hear the music. We're going to come back after the break, and we're going to give you a few things to do today, but also head you in the right direction, because this stuff takes time and it takes a lot of work. Again, if you give any amount in the month of September, we're going to give you Dr. David Stoops' latest book and last book, Living Strong, Finishing Well. It's a great resource for everyone out there. Please give to us, and we'll be right back.
I came into this thinking that my husband was the cause of many of our issues.
The New Life Intimacy and Marriage Workshop is coming to Dallas, Texas, October 15th to the 17th.
But after learning about our attachment styles, I understood how our past hurts were playing into our present problems.
Join Steve Arterburn.
It's been a dream of mine for a long time to help people to grow more intimately together, and we believe that everybody has room to grow in the intimacy level of their life.
And Milan and Kay Yurkovich.
We help couples understand how their attachment style is sabotaging their current relationship. And then we teach them how to create comfort in a relationship.
And New Life's group counselors will help you focus on the area that will benefit your marriage most. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Here at this workshop, we had our first ever conversation without yelling, blaming, and accusing.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I did go to Take Your Life Back. That's why I continue to support the ministry with the hope that not only am I helping my own situation, that I'm helping others as well.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the New Life member thank you gift of the New Life Journal, 100 Days of Peace, 7 Ways to Choose Healing, Growth Has No Boundaries, a Restoration Bible, and a New Life grocery tote to hold it all. Plus, there are ongoing benefits, like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. We have Alexis on the line from Bridgeport, Connecticut. Alexis, you're doing a great job. By the way, your work of recovery and counseling is already showing up. You have phenomenal insight that is very helpful. And so...
but I don't express myself well. Thank you. But I have a problem with being able to express myself without a lot of anxiety.
Yes, absolutely. And so, Sheri, what are you hearing? What are you seeing?
Yeah, and your anxiety is like that red light on the dashboard that's letting you know, your body is letting you know that something isn't okay. In my book, Intimate Deception, Healing the Wounds of Sexual Betrayal, I have a chapter that's called Quick on the Trigger, where I go in to explain triggers, what they are, and there's a 9-step trigger awareness exercise in that book that might be of help to you. The thing that I would do with you, right, is I would actually take the situation that happens with your dogs, and then like in the trigger awareness, I would say step number 1 is write down in a few sentences what that event was. Step number 2 is to see it and say it simply, like what did you see, and then how did that make you feel? It sounds like whatever they said made you feel unsafe. And that puts you into a protective mode. Now, when I unpack what's going on, your family of origin, right, with a rageaholic girl, you didn't feel safe with your dad and a mom who was an enabler that didn't protect you. So you might have shame beliefs like this, kind of held into your heart that sound like, I'm not in control, I'm powerless, I'm in danger. And so when somebody makes a comment about your dogs, all of a sudden, those three beliefs come to the surface and they act like military fighters that you need to protect yourself from these people that are going to hurt you. And all that plays into the anxiety. And whether you feel anger, anger, you observed anger growing up, but anger is one of those emotions that if you put anger out there, people usually step back. And that might be something that you've learned gets you to safety pretty quickly, but it just doesn't feel good to have that be a part of your reactivity. Unpacking those triggering events using a real example and then figuring out what the lie is, what that shame belief is, and changing it is the beginning of helping you learn how to step back from what's happening around you to give you some space between what people are saying about your dogs and what you need to do about it. We had a caller the other day when we were all together where we were talking about hypervigilance, how some of us who have grown up with trauma in our family of origin, our brain gets kindled up. We've got these negative beliefs, these shame beliefs that are there to protect us, but it can create havoc in our lives as adults today. They don't serve us well.
Well, and to that point, Sheri, is that ramps us up, that keeps fight, flight, or freeze right at the surface. So your internal fighter is always ready and willing. And so that's why, or your freezer, right? The one that shuts everything down, or the one that runs away. And so learning how to be calm and safe in your own body. And Alexis, it makes sense. You said, I don't trust myself. Is that when we feel out of control in our emotions or in our reactions, and we do something, to your point, Sheri, of like, hey, I didn't want to do this, or I didn't want to say this or go here, but I did anyways, and I didn't feel in control of it. Now I can't feel safe in my own body.
Yeah, I share a story in that chapter of my husband now, number 8. I don't think I mentioned it was him, but in the book, no, I didn't. I kind of kept that part secret, but now you all know that when I'm talking about the guy that I thought was in the orange jumpsuit that needed to go to jail, it was Kyle. But it wasn't Kyle. It's that we were at a party and I was cooking crab cakes, and I was in the kitchen cooking crab cakes, and there was a woman at this party that was, I think she was a size 1. She had an hourglass figure and a big bow around her waist. She looks like a Christmas gift. It was a Christmas party, but Kyle just talked to her as a guest at the party. Well, because of my former marriage to Connor and all the sexual infidelity, I basically, within 3 minutes, had Kyle in a, jumpsuit, like deserving to go to jail. And I actually broke up with Kyle that night. That was a trigger. I was reacting in the present, like all my feelings that had been stored up from the past. And I had to go back into my own treatment and do some EMDR. This was I guess we've been married 8 years, but this happened when we were dating. And if I didn't do my own work, I may not even be with a really good husband today.
Yeah.
Because my pain caused me to react. And girl, I was angry too. But I was angry at the wrong person.
Yeah. So Alexis, we opened the show with talking about, hey, there's different versions of us and versions that show up. And so you're doing great work. We want to keep you doing great work. But I want to say this. The problem that you're encountering is not in your mind. You don't need new revelatory information. The problem is in your body, and you need a process to go into your body. So we want you to find the therapist that specializes in trauma, especially trauma that would do things like IFS, EMDR, all of these labels that we're talking about today. I don't have time to explain right now because of the break, but get into therapy. We're going to send you a copy of Intimate Deception, not because your marriage has infidelity, but because it shows you what trauma does to your body. Thank you for calling in. We'll be right back after this.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
You guys are awesome. You're a blessing to America.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in the biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, please call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. Again, Chris Williams in the studio. We have some great callers waiting for us today. So we are going to go right back to the lines, and we are going to go to Rose, listening in Dallas, Texas, listening on our app. That is great. We love that you're on our app. So Rose, you're calling into the right day, right? Because something that you heard is coming up for you, and you're wanting to talk to this particular person I see on the board. So talk to us today.
Yeah, so I was in a marriage to a Christian man, supposedly. We've been divorced now for over 10 years, but I'm still struggling with the fallout and the anxiety, and it seems like it's getting worse rather than better. But my question is for Sheri.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
Oh, Rose. Bless your heart.
It's really affecting my relationship with God. I don't feel like I can trust him because, when I would reach out to people in the church, they just ignored or dismissed or marginalized what I was saying. And, I just needed to forgive and forget. And a lot of what happened didn't even come out until after the divorce, when I got the courage up to go looking for evidence. But I'm wondering, since you were married to a pastor, how did that affect your relationship with God?
Oh, girl, it affected every area of my relationship with God. In fact, in my book, Intimate Deception, Healing the Wounds of Sexual Betrayal, I have a chapter called Where is God? Because I grew up and I did have a relationship with God. I loved him. But as soon as Connor began to, I found out about him sexually acting out through pornography, affairs, and other people, everything about my relationship with God changed, because what was going on in my mind and heart is, God, if you're all-powerful, if you're omnipotent, why didn't you do something? Even going back to saying, God, You're omniscient. You know everything. Why did you allow me to marry this man? You could have stopped me. Like I had to have all these very honest conversations with God around the hurt that I experienced because my whole world blew up. It blew up because of sexual betrayal and acting out. But God got caught in the mix. And in my book, I talk about something called the Dirty Dozen, which are 12 layers of trauma. And one of them is actually a spiritual faith trauma. It's common, girl. And I love your tears. You know what I love most about your tears on this call is I'm sensing that you are heartsick in losing that connection and relationship with God. You're heartsick over it. And you feel stuck and frustrated over how to repair that, how to get that back. And I had to do my own work. Remember, I just talked about my trigger in breaking up with Kyle, right? Well, I had broken up with God, too. And my negative belief with God is I don't trust anyone, including God. And when I went back and did some EMDR work, I had to get to the point where I cried, I wrestled with God, I had to rebuild my idea of who God is, because I thought that he allowed the harm. Like it was on purpose, not on purpose.
Like he had a culpability with it.
He had a culpability. And I had two people tell me that. I had a pastor tell me, well, God knew he was going to use you someday, so he allowed this to happen, which lent me right to depression. Mm-hmm. But all I can say, girl, is don't give up until you get to the other side, which is I can choose to trust God. Because it wasn't the church that the church, they did the same thing that you did, right? Connor did the same thing. But God got tangled into this net of messy trauma. And God, I didn't realize he was on my team. Mm-hmm. He wasn't against me, he was for me. But my belief, my mind, was trying to protect me from even feeling connected to God until I got some healing for the trauma.
And I think that trauma helps us get very specific, because it reminds me of a friend of mine who had gone to the highest of the heights that he could think of in fairly young in his career as a pastor, and then everything fell apart spectacularly, and there was a lot of damage and a lot of harm. And so, but he engaged in his own work. And recently I just heard him say that, like, how can you still believe in God, and how can you still believe in the church with everything that happened, how wronged you were, and how wrong the system was that caused all this pain in your life? He says, the church didn't hurt me, and God didn't hurt me. 5 people hurt me. And that tells me that he did his work, because he was able to identify the source of the pain. But trauma globalizes. It makes everything responsible, the whole world unsafe.
Well said.
And so we need to, the work helps us identify what the actual source of our pain is, and then begin to heal from that specific pain, person, or experience.
And when we can't trust, Rose, which makes so much sense that you can't, we tend to retreat. But if we retreat too much, we miss out on the healing relationships that are necessary in order to rebuild trust. But it takes great risk to attempt relationship with God and with a church community again. And it may have to start for you on a smaller scale. If you haven't done your structured work yet, and your tears tell me there's a lot of grief that has not yet been grieved in the presence of understanding, warm people, then I want to suggest that you consider, even if you already have, re-entering individual therapy and attending one of our Restore workshops, because you will feel so understood and safe. And building a little safety with a small group of women at a Restore workshop will then increase your ability to take risks outside of that with church again, with God again, and with other people.
Yeah, I think that's really important, that the ability to risk again, but also not biting off more than you can chew. Yeah, and starting in small places. So, Sheri, what type of therapy should she be seeking out here?
So, Rose, you know what? I mean, I know I've been talking about it a lot today, but I would fast track you and have you find somebody who is an EMDR consultant or an EMDR certified treatment professional. And that, I think, is the best chance you have. I know when I had to go do my work and God was the topic that I was struggling with, it took me about, 5 or 6 sessions of really deep, intense EMDR therapy in order for me to start getting my head turned around in light of God. And then, weirdly, I started seeing him again. I started noticing how God was showing up for me. And I got clarity, Chris, like you said, on who was the real perpetrator in my situation.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
So good. So, Rose, thank you so much for calling in today. Thank you for staying on your journey. We do not wish this pain upon you by any stretch of the imagination, but we do wish an abundance of healing and growth. We're going to send you a copy of Intimate Deception, Healing the Wounds of Sexual Betrayal. We're going to find that's going to be a great guide for you. And again, we would highly encourage you, if not almost demand, that you check out the Restored Conference coming up in November.
November 12th and 14th in person in Washington, D.C.
Absolutely. So, Rose, keep going. We're cheering you on, friend. We are here to have your back as you go through this process. So, again, thank you for calling in. We're going to go right back to the phones. We're going to go to Jim in Trenton, New Jersey. Jim, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thanks for taking my call. We appreciate what you guys do. I have an issue with my daughter. She's tampering with homosexuality. Are you there?
Yeah. So, by the way, how old is your daughter?
She's 19, but
okay.
It's been since high school. She's losing everything. She had scholarships, and God has prepared her, but she got influenced, and now she's on the wrong side. We're Christian, our family, we brought her up according to the best we could with God's will, with his counsel and his word.
Yeah.
The bad thing about it is, the person that she's involved with, her parents are pastors, and they're saying that it's okay.
Okay, so what's you hear the music. So Jim, I hate to do this, but for time's sake, what's the question for us today?
We need counsel. Like, who can you recommend, and where can we go to get counseling on this issue?
Yeah. And so I can hear in your voice that this is scary and it's overwhelming and deeply confusing. I don't think you're alone in this at all. So, Jim, we're going to go to the break. We're going to come right back to you. And again, we're going to offer some guidance in the right direction.
It had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. New Life's Every Man's Battle Workshop can help.
After 7 years, he just one weekend, a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Workshop.
He said, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
Now the workshop is coming to Houston, September 10th through the 12th. Don't wait for him to call. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I did go to Take Your Life Back. That's why I continue to support the ministry with the hope that not only am I helping my own situation, that I'm helping others as well.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the New Life member thank you gift of the New Life Journal, 100 Days of Peace, 7 Ways to Choose Healing, Growth Has No Boundaries, a Restoration Bible, and a New Life grocery tote to hold it all. Plus, there are ongoing benefits like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live, and we have Jim on the line talking about his daughter who is leading down sexually alternative, homosexual relationships, trying to figure out what in the world do we do and what we see. And so, Alice, where do we take him from here?
Jim, I have a question that might catch you off guard, but I'm wondering, at what point in your daughter's life did she start experiencing significant emotional pain, and why?
I think she said like the 9th grade.
And what was happening?
So I guess, well, she was bullied a lot, and I think that's probably was the trigger. And this young lady took interest in her, and from that point, it led to what it is now. And she's been telling us that she's been struggling with it, and we were doing what we could do about it. She's living with them. She's wanting to come back home, but she's not. The reason why she's wanting to come back home is not. It's for her to get on her feet, not necessarily to go to counseling, because she refused that. She said she would go to counseling, but discussing her sexuality would not be an issue. So it's kind of like it blew up in our face. But and again, like I said. The young lady she's involved with, her parents are ministers. And I have one more key point to this, is there's a family member in our family that deals with that. And when I hear my daughter talk, she sounds just like that person. Mm-hmm. So, and this is where we're at. This is truly where, and we're really, really struggling with it. She wanting to come home, but it's basically on her ground rules. And I'm standing on God's word. I'm trusting in God in all that I do. And so, and that's where I'm at. And that's where I'm at. And that's where I will be.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Whatever, go ahead.
First off, Jim, I am so incredibly sorry about the loss, the huge loss that you and your wife are feeling right now. And I am so incredibly brokenhearted over the lack of support that you're getting from people that you would hope to get support from. And so that can really make you feel alone, sad, and wondering where to go. And so I'm heartbroken. I've worked with families who've had situations like this happen. And it makes me so frustrated at the dogma, the woke generation. There's just a mass sexualization of children that's starting in kindergarten, first grade, second grade. And it's like a Coke machine anymore when it comes to sexuality. Back in the day, we did have a different view of sexuality. And it's not that there wasn't homosexuality, but today, kids are given choices at a very young age and are indoctrinated that they can choose their sexuality. And it's just a lot of information that they're being overwhelmed with. 100% of the folks that I've worked with that are same-sex attracted are basically, they have the same belief, which is just really interesting to me. 100% of them have the belief, the shame belief, I'm different, I don't belong. And with your daughter's bullying in 9th grade, it just opened up a vulnerability to her feeling like I'm different, I don't belong, until she belonged to this friend of hers and began to feel accepted and loved, and then has sexualized that experience, and now is moving forward with that. I think I just want to give you guys permission to do two things. One, to grieve. To grieve. Because a lot of times I think as parents, she's been very clear about her boundaries. She's saying sexuality is off. I'm not talking about my sexuality with you guys. Basically what she's saying is I'm not changing in my sexuality. So if you and your wife are having her come home and there is this wish, hope, fantasy, desire to somehow change her in your home, change her sexuality, or have her, try to move her in that direction, there's going to be a lot of tension in your home. And you may begin to feel somewhat out of control or frustrated at her and her choices, because she's going to be dating this woman while they're in your home. I want you to feel that. I want you and your wife to say, how are we going to feel when our daughter's going out on dates with this other woman? And because you need a safe place for your heart as well. You need a safe place to grieve, a safe place to work through your feelings. As parents that had this picture of what it would look like for your daughter to wear a white dress and to be married to somebody of the opposite sex. And that dream is, it breaks your heart.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I know. And you've got to have space.
She's my daughter, and I love her.
I know, Jim. We are so sorry.
Jim, does she get to experience this tender side of you that we're hearing right now?
Yes. Oh, yes.
She needs this from you. She needs to hear your heart, and I'm glad that she already does, because we parents, in our fear and our anger that our children aren't living according to our values, we can become too hardened to them, and that tends to incur more rebelliousness from our children. And so letting your guard down and being warm with your daughter, whether or not you allow her to live in your household, will be so important as part of her healing, whether or not she ever chooses to get help for her sexuality. There, I think, are two different stances to take on this. You might determine that, as for me and my household, we will choose to serve the Lord. And so if there is a decision to pursue unrepentant sin, you may decide that we can't allow that under our home because we can't support that and we can't enable it. On the other hand, you might decide, our daughter knows what the truth is from us. She has heard it from us. We have taken our stance, but we want to allow her into our home so that we can continue to be a good influence over her, and so that we can be a model for her of what healthy relationship can look like. And because all of us parents are imperfect, and all of us unintentionally at least cause injury to our children, being willing to, for yourself and your wife, to take a look at what have we done that maybe added to our daughter feeling misunderstood and excluded. It might be a chance to work on that there under your roof.
And I just want to say one thing. Rose just brought up the idea of God and being disconnected from God. Jim, I just want to say your tears are the heart of God. I really believe God is that desperately heartsick and sad for what's happening to your daughter and many, many people.
Absolutely. And so, Jim, we're coming up against the end of the show here. We're going to send you a copy of How We Love Our Kids, because what we want to do is we want to protect the relationship as you're navigating this really heartbreaking situation. And so we hope that you continue to love her well, but hold also to your truth, your values moving forward. Thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.